this is a mech that I'm still trying to find something really good for. The only difference between this one really and my Cicada X5 is this mech has jump jets and it has one ballistic hardpoint. So a lot of the builds that I've seen people use for the Pheonix Hawk Rock are pretty similar to what you would use on the Cicada X5. So they put, medium pulse lasers and SRMs or something like that on it. This one is, I don't know, it's using a pretty terrible weapon system. Most people agree that light PPCs are not very good. I decided to go ahead and use them just to give this mech something to do at pretty much any range. PPCs have a good range to start with, and if something gets under my PPC range, then I've still got the SRMs.
Acquired.
And the jump jets,
How did I get so far out?
for a better player, they would add a lot more to this mech than they do for me. I've said before that I just don't play mechs with jump jets often enough, and that really messes with me on any mech that does have them. I just tend to forget they're there, and I don't use them. I don't really make the jump shots I need to, or use it for much other than occasionally traversing terrain. So I'm not taking advantage of that part. So I've basically got, otherwise, like I said, just a slightly bigger and slower version of the X5.
Acquired.
And I'm having some real trouble getting my rangefinder to actually show that I'm targeting that UAV. I don't know if I actually was, but it kept saying infinite. But this build is the best that I've come up with so far, just to differentiate the mech itself. I want to use the PPCs to help me get better with using them. They have a long cooldown, so they're a weapon that really requires good aim in order to actually use effectively. Now this mech has all of its weapons in the arms, which does help because it gives me that extra range of motion to be able to, better track my targets. So if I can get better with PPCs on this mech, I think it'll help me with using PPCs on other mechs as well, ultimately.
Acquired.
I kind of wish I could fit some sort of group utility on this thing, at least an active probe or something to help counter ECM mechs, but it's just not something that I have the spare tonnage for.
Target acquired.
Target spotted.
And here I'm surprised I didn't actually manage to kill this guy. He'll die pretty quickly, but I just thought that, 2 SRM6s, even with the PPCs, being undergunned right now, I thought it would have been enough to take him down.
New target
We've lost half our
acquired.
force. We can't lose any more soldiers. Target spotted.
Now here, as I recall, I just kind of exposed too much. I'm sure there are plenty of targets, but I shouldn't be, just staying out there like that.
Right home.
This mech has decent armor. It's got some very heavy armor quirks for the arms, because that's where all of its weaponry is located, which is great. But it's still just not, durable enough that I ought to just stand out there when my weapons are on cooldown. It's got good maneuverability, so I should be, sort of weaving back and forth.
We need you to pull through.
And here I have no idea why I just opted to get in front of this guy who was oblivious to me. When I got behind him, he just remained focused on this other target instead. And here I lose my right arm. That's, half my weaponry, but frankly, if I have to lose one arm, then I would much prefer to lose that right arm. Because the PPCs are okay, and you've got good enough maneuverability that a lot of the time you can make sure that you are outside of that 90-meter minimum range. But I would still rather have, 2 SRMs than the 2 light PPCs.
Come in. Control the surface. Can anyone read?
So that match was okay. For a loss to still, have 7 kills on your team is pretty good. And and surprisingly I did a decent amount of damage as well as taking quite a bit for a 45-ton mech. I didn't do much in the way of killing anyone or blowing off components, which is usually what I'm looking for, but the damage and the fact that I managed to survive till the end shows me that it's doing, or the build is fine. I probably need a lot more practice with it if it's going to work. But we'll jump over and do one more match to see something else. This match is going to be much, much shorter. It's just a steamroll, seriously. We spawn on a map where I think we did something that maybe the other team wasn't really expecting. We actually went and reinforced our assaults instead of NASCARing away from them.
Enemies, no matter the cost.
If you get this map and you're in this position, you really do absolutely have to run over there and reinforce your assaults, or else they're just going to get destroyed by the entire enemy team, and then your team is going to be down something like 300 or 400 tons. So you just probably cannot win from that point.
Shouldn't it be the other way around? Not in this particular situation.
Target acquired.
We're about to get rolled
Target
right
spotted.
here. Flag on the Piranha, Foxtrot.
I've said I wish this build had more group utility, because again that's something I always like to bring in a mech. But I guess it does have one thing that it can do, and I show that right here.
5%.
I can neutralize ECM, at least briefly, with my light PPCs. So it does require, actually being able to aim your weapons, but it's something I can do for the team.
New target
Moving on
acquired.
Charlie.
New target acquired.
Sending.
New
Sorry.
target acquired.
Here, as I recall, I do a pretty decent job of just hill peeking, poking out as needed. I got lucky there, I did stick around a little bit too long, but it wasn't too bad. Didn't even get shot. So I decided that the hill was a bad idea, and I'm going to corner peek instead, which is kind of fine, but then, I stick my face out there for too long, and then I just keep doing it. Surely they'll have gone away. No, they're still sitting there waiting for me.
New target acquired.
Aim is open 4. Direwolf pushing.
But somewhere here, I actually remember that I have jump jets, and so there's this Marauder that I want to bring down, but now I see there are 3 people just standing there. So instead of coming around the corner, I actually pop dart, which is one thing this build is good at.
Delta CT.
And then I just barely poke out and grab that kill.
Target spotted.
So I very much need to remember to do more of that with this mech. And here I got hung up on the building behind me.
Enemies are half
Destroyed.
depleted.
Gone.
Keep pushing.
New target acquired.
There I just underestimated the velocity of the PPCs.
Castle one touch. We can push him. We have the numbers.
Target spotted.
Target
yeah.
destroyed.
I really do like how these arm weapons are positioned. They're at a good height so that I'm not shooting hills all the time, the terrain that's directly in front of me, but I can still peek around the corner really nicely with them.
Target spotted.
Yeah, that guy, he let me just fucking...
So here I get in someone's face. This guy was the learn boat that I was poking at earlier. But I mostly wanted to show this because, again, I need to remember to use the jump jets more often. I don't have too many mechs that I play that have multiple jump jets, and with this having both PPCs and SRMs, it's a really good candidate for pop-tarting, and it's a tactic I need to take advantage of more often. With this being just a super quick match, no one really broke, one person broke 500 on our team, and I only did a couple hundred myself, which I should have done more in this amount of time, but maybe over time my aim will get better and I'll be able to, put up better performance with this mech. But we'll see if I actually like it in the end or if I want to go with something else.